I did not forget.
Should I hit got it?
Yeah, click got it.
Not leaving meeting.
All right, let me see. Side by side mode. Side by side. Speaker. All right, that should be good. Let's see. All right, I'm going to start letting people in so you can just go ahead and get started right at noon.
When? You want me to start now?
No, not yet. People are still hopping on. I'll let them in right at noon. Give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, John, they are joining us now.
So when we go?
Give me 1 minute. Let's get everybody a second. I'll let you know.
Hey, Amanda.
Good morning, Charles, or good afternoon. I guess it's noon now. Welcome in, everyone. We'll get started here shortly. A few people still trying. All right, John, I think we're good to go. We're recording. And so if anyone is late, they can always come back to the recording, but take it away.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Pepe. I'm from Holy Family Catholic Church. And I'd like to welcome you to our client history, case attachment, and uploading documentation training. So this is the 9th training class that we have done since the beginning of July, I believe. And you can see all the ones that we've completed on the left-hand side. So if you missed any of these or you want a refresher, all you need to do is go out to the support community website, and we have the videos and we have the handouts. So please feel free to watch any one of these, parts of them, whatever. But they are pretty rich in content. And so, they're available to you. And obviously, the last one is the one that we're doing today, which is the client history, case attachment, and uploading documentation. So we've done 9, but we have others planned. We plan to do express assistance on March 8th. So mark your calendar, save these dates. Red flagging, and that will be April 5th. And then the CMS support community website on May 10th. Now, this is the big one. We need some of your ideas of what other training we should do. So let me just give you a little context. Then what we'd like to do is for you to unmute yourself and give us some of your ideas. Nobody's going to comment on the ideas. We just want to write them down. But what we're looking for is, you can see, if you look at the list on the left-hand side, they're pretty much topical, if you will. Very specific topics within CMS. That's the way this series has been designed. Doesn't mean we got to do that going forward. What we want to do is provide the training that is meaningful to you, not to me or to anybody else. So at this time, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and for you to kind of like just give us an idea, one-liner, two-liner of what kind of training you would like to see going forward. So just chime in when you can.
Okay, I'm joining.
Cecilia, I see you're off of mute. Did you want to offer a suggestion? No, maybe not.
John, this is a Pat Fisher Holy Spirit conference. I just wanted to say first, I'm still thinking about an idea or two, but I'd like to congratulate you all on an incredible job of enhancing CMS from what it was 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it's so much more robust and easy to use. It doesn't require it was more confusing, I think, earlier on. And I hope the number of calls for assistance or reports have reduced drastically. And so the other thing I'd like to just comment quickly is that the recording of these training sessions is another and just invaluable resource to have. So I just wanted to salute you guys for your responsiveness. And I'll see if I can't come up with an idea on training.
Well, thank you, Pat. You see all the gray hair I have.
Yeah.
So, this journey began October 1st, 2013, but who remembers dates? And I think we all lived through some really bad times. But I think we're happy in the place we're at now. We got a lot more work to do, don't get me wrong. But thank you for the comments. It's been users like yourself that have hung in there and has really made this enjoyable. There have been times when it hasn't been that enjoyable, but we're on the upswing for sure. So if anybody has any, we really, like I said, we're struggling of what's important to you. Well, I come up with a list, don't get me wrong. I know CMS, I can fill the stance card without a problem, but that might be only what I think is important. That doesn't relate to you. So I guess nobody has anything to say right now, but if you do.
Well, John, I see some people off of mute. Go ahead, Felicia.
Felicia from St. Philip, Benicia. I do have a question, which is a concern. It's either health issue, dealing with clients, health issues and clients conflict. How to handle those situations, because sometimes you get a client into the pantry, they may be a little outrageous or have, or even just for safety issues.
Right. Well, I'm sure somebody can get back to you on that. That's really not something that I don't think CMS would address.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Felicia, if you would reach out to me directly and we can talk offline.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Because I'm working closely with your conference president right now too, Joanne. So let's have a chat.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
I see John, hold on, John
John?
Callahan. John.
Yeah,
Yes.
John. Yes, John Cahalan from Prince of Peace Parish. And I see down in the completed ones, beginner's case intake. I think it would be a good resource if we could have a beginner case workers as well. When we get new people in for casework, that would be a good resource to get them trained and get them into CMS, get them doing their thing.
Okay, good idea.
Thank you. Ron, did you want to offer anything? I see you're off of mute, so I just want to.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
John, this Mark Battalion, I apologize, my video has never worked. But I see you do have training for client merge. I have forever been confused as to how to deal with a client who is a past client and their address has changed and how to proceed from them. I don't know whether you're going to cover that today or not. I hope you do. But I see apparently you do have a completed handout on that. I've got to figure out where to find that information if that's not something you're going to cover today.
Yeah, it isn't anything that I'm going to cover today. Client merge is different than if you need to change a client's address. I mean, just send me a support ticket or a question or whatever, and I'll get back to you on how to do that. That's different. This is merging multiple clients, you know, client A into client B, making them one. And there's, like I said, there's videos and handouts on these. So take a look at them, you know, fast forward the information that's not applicable to you, but I think you'll find them, like I said, pretty content rich. We spend a lot of time doing them.
All right, John.
We done?
As we go, as he's presenting, if you think of something, feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll, you know, capture it that way. And we'll follow up in an email as well. But anything comes to mind, please reach out to me or the CMS support community, let them know so that we can continue to offer some, you know, rich trainings. I am going to go ahead and put everybody back on mute so he can continue and flow through these two topics today. And like I said, please use the chat. Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing I want to do is kind of review with you the agenda that we're going to follow today. So the first thing I want to do is review the handouts that you should have received from Amanda. And after we do that, then we're going to move right into client history and talk about how you access and where you access client history and just what is it. And then we'll move into case attachments. I will demo showing you how to upload documents to a case, and then uploading documentation that is different than case attachments, and then viewing the attachments and documents. So let's start off with review the handout. So you should have received two handouts. Handout number one should be basically the presentation that I'm about ready to go through. And that should be pretty much one of the pages that you have. And this is the flow that we are going to follow. We're going to be doing the case record form with history. And underneath each one, the sections, you see where it says like prepare tab, and then you see a bar with history. That's what I call the access path. That's how you get to it from the prepare tab. You hit the prepare tab, and then you'll see a button called case record with history, and you pop that button, and then you get the client history form, the case record form, basically. So every one of these, I've pretty much given you the access path of how to get to it in the different areas of the system. On the right-hand side, case attachments, we'll go over that too. And then you have the uploading the documentation, which is basically only officers and conference administrators are allowed to do. No other role. So if you have a caseworker role, and let's say that's the only role you have, you are not going to be able to upload documentation, the documents that I'm going to talk about later on. Okay, so that's what you should have received. That's one. What happened here, Amanda? I thought I hit that.
Just press exit again or escape. Yeah.
That's the wrong system. That's Georgia. That's not the test system. Okay, there's the test system. The second handout you should have received was basically I cut and paste. I took a page out of the online user guide on attachments, and Amanda and I made some edits to it to make it a little more accurate. It is old, but it is in the online user guide. But I just cut one page out of it for attachment. So those are the two handouts that you should have received. So we're going to immediately go into the demo. And what we're going to do first, so if you turn to the page that has the side-by-side where it says case record form with history and case attachments, pretty much going to follow that. We're going to do the client history one first. So I've set up a client. I'm a caseworker. I have a client called Linda Chambers. And I've moved through, I want to go backwards. So I've moved through all the tabs and I'm on the assistance tab. I submitted a check request, treasurer paid it, that sort of thing. So I just stopped here because I want to show you some of the things about client history of where you can access client history from this area, the caseworker workflow. The first place is over on the Prepare tab. The Prepare tab really is designed for like a pre-visit. You're calling the client, you're getting the directions, you're making all the arrangements, scheduling the appointment, that sort of thing. That's really what the prepared phase is all about. Now, when you're on that tab, you'll see that you can produce a case record form and just a vanilla case record form or a case record form with history. So if I click the one with history, it'll take a while, but it will generate a case record form with all the history of the client. And then we'll go over the document itself when it comes up. So I don't know how many of you have ever seen this before or only have really done the case record form, but this is the one with history as well. So here's a document. It's a case record form. You should be very familiar with it. But let me take you over here to the left-hand side of the screen so you know what these buttons are. Okay, if you are viewing the case record form with history on a mobile device, and let's say it's an iPad, you hit expand and it will create a separate tab for you. So that's just something that you should know. It's written right there. By clicking OK, what will happen, and you'll see this when we get to attachments, the system will automatically create an attachment, a case record form, and in parentheses, it'll say pre-visit or something like that, as an attachment, if your conference uses attachments. Now, not all conferences have enabled attachments. I'm going to show you how to do that when we get to the attachment portion of the demo. But a lot of conferences don't even use attachments and they never even see the attachment tab. But if your conference does, the system will automatically populate a case record form as an attachment. So I'm going to just say expand, because let's see, say not now on this one right here. Okay, so let's take a tour of the case record form with history. So here's your basic case record form. You've seen that probably 1,000 times. No difference. It's obviously all the pertinent information for the case that you are on right now. Okay, now underneath, here's where the history portion comes in. The very first thing you'll see at a glance is all the past assistance, just like you do when you're online and you click the past assistance tab, if you will. Same thing, but it's in paper form. And it's from the newest to the oldest. And when we get down to 2014, now we're into pre-CMS days, and we've only captured this information here. We don't have all the information. So if you want to see the past assistance at a glance of a client, all you need to do is just review this section. The next section of the report is the program history. As you know, we have a Christmas program, we have a Thanksgiving program, and an Angel Tree program that clients are referred to and participate in different times of the year. And we give them things like turkeys, like gift cards, like gifts themselves. And we record that in CMS through the program function of the Vincentian program function within CMS. And that's logged right here that this client was given something for Christmas, and she was referred to by Jim Honey on that day. If this client had any red flag history, you would see that here in this section. So if this client was red flagged, you would see when they were red flagged, who red flagged them, why they were red flagged. So you get to see that portion of it as well on the history report. And then record notes. I don't know how many of you know this, but if you go to client, if you go to search clients, and then you pick the client that you want, you will see a notes tab that you can record notes at the client level. Obviously, you can record notes in a situation at a case level, but you can record notes at the client level as well. And if you do that, it will appear on the client history report as well. The client history report really is nothing more than an expanded case record form. That's all it is. It's a case record form with a whole lot of detail so that you don't have to bounce. Think about the alternative. The alternative would have been that you go over to your search cases and one by one, you call them up and try to remember everything that you read as you go to the second one, the third one, the fourth one. This puts it all in one place where you have all the client's history. You can print it out before you even start the visit, or you can do it anytime during the process. You can do it when the case is closed and you want to go back and print a client history report for a closed case. There's all different points within the system where you can produce this report. So now we get into the meat of it. So now what you'll start to see is all the cases for this client in the newest to the oldest sequence. And you will see the specific information that you would typically see at the case level. You would see the request date. You'll see that it was assistance not provided, all the relevant information about the client for that case, which may be different as you move case to case. Client could have moved, had a different address, different phone number, as we all know. Here is the situation, if there was anything put in there. And of course, you have to enter something in the situation. And this one just doesn't show it. Obviously, we closed this case without assistance. And in-kind assistance, this is probably a more relevant one where we actually close this case with assistance provided. Once again, they're going from the newest to the oldest sequence. And here you see the request, the situation, the underlying cause, how it was taken care of, all the information that you typically would see if you close the case. You would see these tabs. Here we gave this client some in-kind. We paid their rent. And then you move to the next case, the next case, the next case, all the way down. So this is your client history report. And of course, you can print this. You can download this, whatever you'd like to do. Totally up to you. But like I said, one thing that the system will do for you automatically, if you were on this prepare tab and you call this up, it will put this as an attachment under the attachment tab. Okay, so I think that's that. I want to go back to Amanda. I want to get out of this one. How do I get out of this? Amanda? She's not there. Hold on a minute. Let me see something. There we go. Okay, I'm out. Let's see, it's test. So that's Linda Chambers. So I went over to Prepare tab and showed you how to do that. Well, there's other places through these tabs. And by the way, depending upon where you are when you call up the client history report, it will obviously give you that client history up to that point for the case record form, up to that point. So here I'm on the Assistance tab. If I wanted to have a client history report at this point in the process, all I do is go up to Case Options, see where it says Case Record Form. All you would need to do is click this check mark here. You just do that, and then you click that, the Case Record Form, and you would get the same thing that we just got before. Okay? So that is another way of producing the client history report. Okay. Some other areas of the system where you can generate a client history report. Let's go to Search. Go to Clients. Let me put in Linda Chambers. And we'll find Linda Chambers. Lindacc. Okay, we found her. Now you see the button right there, history. You could run a history report when you search on the client, and you'll get everything. And by the way, this was the Notes tab that I was talking about. I had put in that note that appeared on her report. So here is another place within the system that you can run a client history report without even being in a case. You can do it right at the client level. Obviously, there are more places under cases. Same thing. Linda. Try this Chambers, the one that worked last time without the double C. And you can pick the case, any one that you want. And once again, all you do is check the box and run the case record form with history. If you don't check the box, you're going to get a case record form. It's just not going to have the history. So in the other spot, obviously, is in cases by case worker, pretty much the same thing. Oh, wrong Linda Chambers. And once again, you can pick any one that you want, any case that you want to run case record form on, and you just click the box, click case record form, and you will get that as well. The one thing that I failed to mention, I want to go back to search clients, because there's one little trick within the system that you really should know about. So when you run this history report, unfortunately, I'm going to have to run it. Okay, when you run that history report, you have to hit update. If you read down here, it says the report was generated 2/2. Well, today's 2/3. So if you had any activity whatsoever, and you just printed this report, it would be excluded. So the best thing to do is to click update. And therefore, now you got it updated. You can see here it was generated 2/03, that now you have all of the history for the client. You only have to do that here. You don't have to do it in the other areas that I showed you, but that is something that you really should do. Okay. Okay, so let me stop there before I move into case attachments and see if you have any questions.
Yeah, John, I do. in case, like we have a lot of Hispanic friends in our territory, and is there any way to add something besides the name? You go into search and then you're not sure they may be similar names to try to ensure that you're looking for the right one.
Well, there is, and as a matter of fact, I did some training on that, but what you can do is put in a wild card. So let's say you didn't know was Linda Chambers or was LY NDA, or
Yeah.
was it LINDA? You can do L, a wild card is a %. And say Chambers, and it'll give you everything L, so if you weren't sure how she spelled her name, you can always use wild cards.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
But that's a way, it's more of a phonetic search. And, I'll give you a little more because a lot of times you don't know the correct spelling of the name.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, John, the only question that was in the chat room, I'll just verbally say it in case they're not looking at the chat, that the client history reports all client history from any conference. So any conference in Georgia, at least.
I'm sorry,
There was a question about the history, if it just pulls for a specific conference or any conference.
No, it'll be any, let me show you something. If you go to search, and let's say cases, and you knew the case number, and let's say it's not within your conference. You change that to select. You then put in the case number. The client comes up. You click on it, and then you can do the case. You can do a history report. So the answer is any conference within Georgia. But this is how you would do it. If I said Holy Family, it's only going to give me Holy Family with that case number. But if I change that to select, means all conferences, and I put in the case number itself or the client's name, doesn't really matter. It will find that client. And as you know, theoretically, we're supposed to have one client across all conferences.
But if you were to search by client and then do their history, it will pull up all of it.
Yes.
Right. Okay, that's all. That's the only questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat and we will either answer them as we go if time allows or at the end.
Yep. Okay, so I'm ready to move on to case attachments. If there's no other questions about the client history, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Once again, just think of it as an expanded case record form itself with all detail. And, the question that Amanda or somebody asked, one thing sometimes we all forget is that nobody owns a client. No conference owns a client. So any conference can access any information about that client. It isn't restricted to any specific conference. And that's throughout the entire system. It's just not with client history. Okay, so we're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to start uploading some documents, okay? So I'm on the Assistance tab, and I'm going to start uploading some documents. But before I do that, this is how you make the document tab appear. If you're a conference administrator, or you're a conference administrator, and you want to start uploading documents, then you have to enable attachment tab in cases. Here it's enabled. If you leave that blank, you will not even see the attachment tab as you move through the process. And that's why if you're not seeing the attachment tab, your conference made a decision that they're not going to be uploading documents. And by the way, when you enable this, it's for everybody. It's not just for a person, it's for a conference. So this is the first step in the process, is that if you want to upload documents, case attachments, should I say, then you're going to have to enable this setting. That's the first thing. Now, if we go back to Linda Chambers and we want to start loading, now you see the attachment tab. Once again, if that was not enabled, you wouldn't even see this. You would see assistance, then you would see checks and pledges. And most of you probably do. But anyway, that's how this tab appears, is because of that setting. So if I go over to attachments, as you can see, as promised, when I opened up that case record form, when I was on the Prepare tab, the system automatically populated a case record form with history in the attachment tab. You see where it says the pre-visit, that means the Prepare tab. So it automatically populated one, and I can show you that. There it is. Okay, so we're going to load some more. We're going to upload some more. So you come over here to the upload button. System's asking you for a file that's on your computer. Very important. So it's going to open up, your Explorer, if you will, and ask you to pick a file. Now, first of all, if you go to the handouts, I've said a couple of things. First of all, the file format can only be PDFs, JPEGs, PNGs, I think GIFs as well. No Excel, no Word, no PowerPoint. These are the only acceptable formats that the system will allow. And then I'm going to get to the file name in a minute. I'm just going to pick some. I loaded some PDFs out here, have no relevance whatsoever, but we'll just pick one apartment complex. Doesn't really matter. It's a PDF. Now the name. This is very important because I'm going to tell you a few stories here. Let me go up here again. Okay. So now we're on name. The name must be unique. And I said that slowly because I can't tell you how many tickets I received that says, I just uploaded 3 documents and the only one that I see is the last one. The reason is because the name, the person that was doing this kept the name the same, like utility bill. And then the second one, utility bill. And the third one, utility bill. Well, all that person saw was the last utility bill because it replaced it. So the name must be unique for every document that you upload. So if I want the utility bill, and I knew I had many of them, I probably would do something like that. Utility bill _1. And then I would obviously have utility bill _2. So that's my utility bill. Obviously, it's not a utility bill, but I just wanted to show you. And here it is right here. So now we got 2 attachments for this case. I can also upload a photo, a client photo, or let's say that you took a picture of the client's license as a good example. Well, I don't have one of those, but I do have a great photo here. I've been dying to show you. That's my high school picture. So you can upload photos as well, JPEGs, PNGs, that sort of thing, not just PDFs. But once again, the real importance, some important points is that that file name must be unique. Don't make that mistake. That is a common mistake. I hear it a lot. I get a lot of tickets on it. And it's just a matter of saying, make the file name unique and you won't have a problem. And it will upload successfully. So there we upload 2 of them. Something else about attachments, we retain these attachments for 7 years. So you can go back 7 years and, do a search on the client, bring up the attachments and view it. So they're out there for 7 years. They do not get deleted. Okay, so that's how you do case attachments. Now, I'm going to show you how you view those attachments. There is a search option that doesn't work, by the way. It's got a bug. I found it when I was kind of preparing for this training class, but it'll get you halfway there. So if we want Linda Chambers, and once again, the question I was asked before, if you're looking for somebody outside your conference, all you do is hit select. And it'll bring up all the Linda Chambers. If you want to narrow it down to your conference, all you gotta do is that. And if I leave everything else blank, it will bring up the 3 documents that I uploaded twice. So here's the bug. That when it displays it, it's displaying duplicates. And I already submitted a support ticket to Aguilar on this, but this is a fast way for you to see the attachments without even going near a case. You can see it for Linda Chambers, or you can see a specific document. And here you see the case record form. So that's one way. The other way, let's see, cases, and I did Linda Chambers again. And let's say that I picked that case. So that's the other way that you could see it. Well, it's probably not a good example. So let me go back a little bit. Maybe, no, that's the open case. But I think you got the point here. If you did a search on cases, you just pick your closed case, if you will. As you know, you get the string of tabs. By the way, you see the exact same screen when you close a case. As soon as you hit, the complete tab and it closes the case, this is what you see. So if you wanted to take a picture of the case record form at that time, you can do that. You can also see the attachments that you might have attached it to that case as well. So that's the way you kind of view the attachments for a case, and the way that you can get a case record form after you close the case. So you don't have to go back again and produce one. And you can keep that for your records. Once again, case record form, you can print it. It creates a PDF. You can store it on your computer. You can do anything you want with it. Okay, so that's case attachments. Any questions before I move on to uploading documentation? Next section of the training.
John, there's a question in the chat. Does the file name have to be unique for that case or for all cases?
No, just for that case. Yeah, I could have utility bill number 1 in Holy Family, and you could have utility bill number 1 in Holy Spirit.
I think that answers it. Anne Marie, feel free to come off of mute if you have any further.
So other caseworkers can use utility bill 1 for other cases as well.
I'm sorry, could they use utility? Yes, they can use it. It's within the case that you are working in, must be unique.
Okay.
Not as it crosses cases within conference, doesn't care, doesn't know. It's only for that specific case that you're working where the name needs to be unique.
Yeah, that's all that's there now. John,
Anybody have any other questions before we move to documentation? Uploading documentation?
I've got a question.
Okay.
This is Beverly, Prince of Peace. You know, I did start, well, you answered several of my questions because I couldn't figure out how to get the other two. And so now I know, but after I upload an attachment, then on my computer, and I'm trying to remember, it pops up, it's wanting me to do something in JPEG or something. And I eventually get back to the file itself, but that screen that pops up is wanting me to do something else.
Well, once again, I'll tell you, send me a support ticket, take a screenshot of what it's asking you to do.
Okay.
And send me a support ticket. Keep in mind, as I said, I've run into this all the time. User calls me up or submits a support ticket and says, I create an attachment, and when I click on it, it's blank. And I know the answer immediately. You try to upload a Word document or you try to upload an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't like those two. So it is very, very specific of what file formats it will accept.
Well, mine have all been the JPEG, but I will, next time it happens, I'll take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Take a picture of it, send me a support ticket,
Okay,
and I'll take a look at it for
Okay.
sure.
thanks.
It's pretty simple to do. Like I said, uploading attachments. The hard part, obviously, sometimes it's hard for people to scan in the document and create the PDF first, or take the picture and create the JPEG. But once you've done that, it's just a matter of finding it and uploading it, finding it and uploading it. And it moves pretty fast, as you saw. Okay. So we're about ready to move to uploading documents, documentation. The first thing I'll say is that only officers and conference administrators can do this. Caseworkers cannot. But hang on, if you're a caseworker, I'm going to show you how you can view them, but you cannot upload them. Okay. So let's go to home, go to my conference. If you are a officer or a caseworker, you will see this. If you're a caseworker, you won't even see this. And go to the very last tab, documentation. And this is what you can upload: conference reports, bank statements, meeting minutes, references, and forms. Now, let's go one by one. The conference report is automatically populated when the treasurer closes the month. So unfortunately, these are in the oldest to the newest. It should be really the newest to the oldest. There you go. I had it. So I click on that and I get the newest to the oldest. So these are all of the monthly financial reports that the treasurer generates. You open it up. Okay, that should look familiar to treasurers. That is their report. Now, the only thing that you can do here, if you wanted to, is that you can replace this report with another report just by choosing file, the same process that we had before for uploading, and you can replace this report, which I'll do with something. I'm just going to pick one. Roster. Click submit. Then if I go back. Can't remember where it was. What did I do?
John, someone in the chat said, should we replace it with the signed monthly report?
I'm sorry?
should we replace it with the signed monthly report?
Well, that's something you're gonna have to ask Cheryl. I know she has some very specific instructions for the treasurers of where they put their signed monthly report by the president and the treasurer. So I think that's a question for Cheryl, the CFO, of where she wants you to do it. All I'm
Okay.
telling you, all I'm saying is that this gets automatically generated. You don't need to upload these reports at all. They're just out there. I doubt very much that you're going to go through and change any of these. They're just there. But if you wanted to add a document, you can add a document. And let me go with my roster again. And once again, if I just say that that is roster.
So I'll confirm with her where the signed ones are supposed to go, just to reiterate. I think she might have sent out an email recently, but I'll on a follow-up email let you all know in case you're a treasurer.
Yeah, I don't know where, I think she's asking you to do it when we get to the bank statements. I think that's where she's asking you to do it, but I'm not certain. Best thing is to let Amanda follow up. But there's the roster that I just put out here, so you can add one. By the way, you can add a link as well. So you give it a name and you give it the website address, the URL, and you know, like if I gave it a name and just call this CMS, and the URL, I'll just take that guy right here and paste it into here. There you go. See this. It should be in here somewhere, hopefully. There it is. Brought up CMS. So you could upload a link as well as a document. Okay. So
Just one more question, John. I don't know if you want to get to it before you leave this section.
Go ahead.
So she's brand new to St. Vincent de Paul. Question is, this section you're talking about is something that I can view only, or can I view it all?
Well, what's your role? What roles do you have? It's contingent upon it. You're going to be able to view, I'm going to show you later on, regardless of what role you have, whether you're an intake person or you're a caseworker or you're an officer, I'm going to show you how you can view all of these reports that have been uploaded by an officer or a conference administrator. Those are the only two roles that can upload documents. All roles can view these documents. And I'm going to show you that after I get through doing the uploading, okay?
Okay, the person who asked is an intake role.
Intake, sure. I'm going to show you as an intake person how you can view this stuff. That's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Next. Okay, any other questions, Amanda?
No, that's all for now.
Okay, so here's bank statement, and this is one that Cheryl's asked all the treasurers to upload their bank statements. And once again, all you got to do is go to add document, pick your file. Oh, I think I may have had the instructions to uploading. Okay, and just call the bank statement instructions. Okay, and just upload them. Submit. Go back. There it is. Okay. So pretty simple uploading there too. Meeting minutes, same thing. I'm not going to go through each one of these as far as an upload, but I do want to talk about these two. If you're a secretary and you take meeting minutes at your conferences, conference meetings, and you want to upload them so anybody who has access to CMS can see them. And by the way, it's a great way for you to store them digitally so they're not sitting on your computer, especially if the auditors ever want to go through your meeting minutes, that you have them here in CMS. So I highly encourage you, if you are the secretary of the conference, because once again, you need to be an officer to upload these documents. And one officer is a secretary. And so he or she can upload their meeting minutes to the system and have it visible to everybody. So that's what all I'll say about meeting minutes. When you get to references, if you go to the handout that I gave you, I just gave you some examples. I kind of searched a lot of the conferences that we have to see what they're doing and what they're uploading. And everybody's pretty much making it up themselves the way they want to use it, which is great. Whatever you want to do, you can use those two documents, if you will, to upload, other documents into, like the references. I gave you some examples. What I have found is most conferences in that area are uploading other client assistant resources, like a client resource guide that you would give to a client to check out for other resources to help them pay their rent that within your community. And if you have that content, you can upload it in this area. That's only one example. Financial guidelines that you might have within your conference, that for rent, that anything over $500 must have officer approval, or you only pay $300 max for utilities. Whatever your financial guidelines are, this would be another great place to store those guidelines. Any procedures that you have for EFSP, collection procedures, intake procedures, that's the way that I've seen most conferences, how they're using references. Those are the kinds of documents they're uploading. And when you get to the forms, what I'm seeing is that, forget about the word record. Pretend that said conference forms. We all have them, right? Some of them are given to us by St. Vincent de Paul, like a member reimbursement form, or a pharmacy referral form. A blank case record form might be another good example. Thrift store referral form is another one. So think about it from your conference perspective of all the forms that you have, that you just want one place to deposit them in. This would be the place. Forget about the word record, take that out and just say forms. And this is where you can store all those forms that are probably stored on so many different computers. It's amazing. One member might have 2, another member might have 4. You might be able to bring them all together. So again, this is the uploading piece, and it is reserved only for officers and conference administrators. Now, for everybody else, if you just want to see them, and that's the only thing you can do, if you go up to this documents button that you've seen many times, you don't know what it's for, this is what it's for. So just to view those conference reports, you can do that. But that's the only thing you can do is view them. You can view the bank statements that were put out there by the treasurer if you wanted to. The meeting minutes, and again, that's very helpful for your members to have an electronic way of looking at the minutes and for you to store them. All your reference information, which could be your other financial resources, your guidelines, and all of that we talked about. And of course, all your forms that you have within your conference. But any member, anybody who has CMS, access CMS, regardless of role, would be able to view all of those. You cannot upload any documents, you can't change anything, but you can look at them. Okay? And that's it. That's all I got on this section. Anybody have anything else? Any questions on this section?
Yeah.
Nothing in, oh, sorry, go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, I was just gonna, can you clarify again? I think I was taking notes and missed when you first opened up to get to that page. What did you click?
I'm not sure what page you're talking about. Okay,
Well,
so to
I want
upload,
to, I want to upload meeting minutes.
okay,
How do
cool.
I get to that?
Okay, you go to my conference.
My conference,
First of
okay.
all, do you have an officer role?
Yes,
Great. You go to my conference, you'll see a string of tabs. You go to documentation
right.
tab, and then you said meeting minutes,
Yeah, I see that now.
and that's how you got to it. And then you can
Gotcha.
upload a document. So it starts at my conference.
Right.
And then, like I said, if you're a caseworker, you won't even see any of this. This will be all hidden from you. But if you're an officer or conference administrator, you have access to a lot of things. I'll only say one thing about this tab right here, because I could go back to 2013 when we talked about this with John Barry. So you see the required documents. This, by the way, is disabled. The thinking here early on was that every conference would be required to upload these documents for every case. Obviously, if they're applicable. If they were only housing, you wouldn't upload utilities if they didn't come to you looking for anything for utilities, but only for housing. But there was some thinking that this would be required. So everybody would see the attachment tab and you'd be required, you wouldn't be able to get by that tab without uploading one of these documents. Well, as it always happens in St. Vincent de Paul, there was a lot of pushback on that. And so the compromise that we made was, let's leave this, but disable it. And this be at the conference level. This isn't at the diocese level, this is at the conference level. But let's disable it right now. But if the day ever comes, if the auditors ever say, you know, conferences don't have a choice. You have to upload, if you pay for a utility bill, you got to upload it. If you paid for a transportation, a repair bill, you got to upload it. Then we're in a position to do that. But right now, this is all disabled within the system, but it's standing by if the day ever comes that we all have to do that. Right now, we all have our own choices within the conference. We could decide to have attachments or not attachments. That's a conference decision. It's not a council office decision. It's not a diocese decision. It's your decision. But I just wanted to let you know that this is in place. This infrastructure is in place if we ever get to that point. But I don't think we are. That's all I'll say about that. So any other questions about uploading documents, documentation, should I say, and viewing those documents? This is too easy. Not enough questions here. Can't be that good. It's pretty simple, as you would imagine, but these are, you know, the hidden parts of the system that we all don't use each and every day. I mean, sure, we do case intake and we do case worker, but when you think about it, you know, do you really do attachments every day? Maybe you're a conference that wants to do attachments, but you didn't know how to do it. Well, now you know how to do it. It all starts with, as I said, you have to enable it first, or else you won't even see the attachment tab.
John?
So that's the way that we kind of designed this training. These are like these little secrets that you're always doing the bread and butter kind of applications, the searches, the intake, the casework, all of that stuff, writing checks, approving checks. But very seldom you do attachments, you upload documents, you view documents. So the purpose of this training was to make you aware of it, because if it's something you want to do, now hopefully you know how to do it. Anything else on this?
Yeah, John, I did have one question. I'm trying to get it typed in here. Yeah, there we go. If you upload a link to a document,
Yes.
does that document still have to meet the format requirements, or can it be any format?
I'm sorry, if you uploaded, okay,
If
let
you
me make
upload
sure.
a link, you upload a link to another document, and you tell somebody, we have this particular calendar that we use. If you want to see it, here's the link to the calendar. So the calendar is somewhere else.
But
that
where's
And
the
that
calendar?
doesn't have to be like a JPEG, for example. It could be any.
Oh, no. The link is a URL, it's a website.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So if you wanted a link to that, you just give it the URL, the website address. I don't know, I'll just pick over here. So you give it a name, any name you want to give it. You give it the URL address.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
But it's a URL. It's not a file name.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just give it the website address, and when the person comes in, they click on it, it'll go right to that website address.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let's see something. What is it? Well, let's call it FAR. This our FAR form. svdpga.org/help. Didn't come up. Must have messed it up somehow.
John, try spelling out Georgia.
No, the FAR form is GA. That I remember anyway. I will though.
Or I wonder if you have to put www or HTTPS.
Yeah, I think so. I was just thinking that too. I'm so used to doing the shortcut. You're right. No, I didn't think so. Didn't come up again, man. Anyway, it does work. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Maybe it is Georgia, but I was trying to link to a form that we had created. But anyway, you put in the URL and it should go right there, because I know I just did it with this. Let's see now, if I took SVDPGA, I take that guy right there. Do a copy. Test system. Let's see.
You're in it in the other tab already.
Pardon me?
You have another tab open with CMS.
Oh, okay.
You're fine.
Yes,
It's fine.
yeah, I see it. You mean over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Ah, I think you needed the HTTPS. I think yeah, that's it. That was the secret.
Hey, John, while you're right there, do you want to click on the CMS support community and just show them where the trainings are since you're already there? Nope, go back up to the top, the button that's on the left, CMS support community.
CMS.
Go over to the, yeah.
On the right.
Yeah, on the right.
My right.
And then go down and show
Okay.
them where the training link is on the left.
Okay. It is right there.
Thank you.
There you go. I love that guy that pops up. Okay, so this is all the training videos that Amanda's put out there. Some of this content, most of it's ours, but some of it is Agilar's. They have some great 3-5 minute videos to take a look at. And a lot of this content has been developed by us as we're doing these training sessions. Amanda's recording them. I produce the handouts. And so we got you can see the beginner CMS Treasury training that we did. So there's a video and there's some handouts. Here's, I think the intake is up here as well. And there is a beginner's,
There is, yeah.
let me see, where is that, Amanda? It's an oldie but a goodie.
The caseworker?
The caseworker, yeah. Is that under case management?
Yeah, that one's ours. The simple casework is one of Agilar's, so it's probably a little bit shorter.
Right, for the person that asked about, to do beginners on caseworkers or case workflow. I believe if you go into the beginner's case management, this is going back some, it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. There's two parts of this. One is case intake and the other one's case worker. So if you're only interested in case worker, just fast forward past the case intake and then only look at the case worker. It's only probably a couple of years old, so it isn't that old in terms of the system moving that far ahead of us. So that's what's there now, but your suggestion's a very good one that we kind of refresh that and do a specific video, a specific training session on casework.
Thank you. I didn't mean to throw you off, but since
No,
you were
no.
on the site, I thought it'd be worthwhile.
Yeah, it is while we were there. Anybody got any, we got about another 19 minutes. So I got a few minutes to spend on some other questions that might be even totally unrelated to this training that maybe I could, let's do a little lightning round, if you will, that maybe I could answer real quickly for you that you're having problems with, but don't give me the hard ones. Okay, go ahead. If anybody's got anything even off topic here. Nothing.
Actually, this is Catherine. I have a quick question. I'm the one that's brand new to the program.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I just wanted to know, is there somewhere in any of the training that shows like the hierarchy of positions for the council or what it's called? Like who, is there a president, a vice president, treasurer, and all of that?
Well, I don't know if there's anything at the council level. In CMS, if you're a conference administrator, you see all the roles that we have. These are all the roles that somebody could be assigned to. Now, this isn't a hierarchy. You don't see that there's a president and then another president, there's a secretary and there's a vice president. This is not hierarchical, but basically these are all the roles within CMS that somebody could be assigned to. And you could assign people to multiple roles. And you can be an intake person, I can be an intake person. So it isn't like you're an intake person, you're the only intake person. So first it's the role and then there's the individual that gets assigned to it. But
And Catherine,
Again, I'm sorry.
Paul. Catherine, if you're like brand new and you're looking just for more like a orientation overview, I invite you to attend our upcoming session of Vincent University, which will give you a good overview of kind of the structure and how the council operates, if that's what you're looking
Okay.
for more than CMS specifically.
Yeah,
And
I
feel
think you
feel
are.
free to email me for more details about that. I'll send you the link to sign up.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Hey, John, this is Mark Battalion again. I mean, if you're willing to go off topic.
I dare to do this.
You know, I go back to my original question, which is the original reason for sitting in on the meeting is doing intake. I get confused every time I have a client who has moved to a different location or has a different phone number, and I begin doing intake and do a search to find out if we've helped them before. And sure enough, they pop up there, and now I'm lost as to what button to push so they don't lose everything I just put into the system.
Okay, that's a mouthful. First of all, and I said this in a prior training session, do you start here? Is it Mark? Is that who it is?
Yeah, that's correct. I usually start there and I
You
won't
start right
find the
here in
client.
search?
Yeah, and I won't find them because their phone number is different.
Yeah,
And that's usually how I look up clients as phone numbers. And so I begin intake. I get through the intake process. And once you put somebody's address and name and everything else in there, it starts automatically doing a search to see if we've helped them before.
right.
And so if you find that client on that help, and obviously something has changed, they've moved or they got a new phone number or something, you have to make a decision. Do I want the input I just put in, or do I want to use the input of somebody who's a past client? I'm just trying to make sure that we don't capture or lose that information. I create another case that's not linked. I don't know what to do. It's confusing instructions.
Okay, I think I got it, Mark. So the first thing I will say, as I said in my beginner's intake class, is you never use search for intake. And there's lots of reasons why. And if you look at my video, I will give you all the reasons why this is a bad idea. If you're doing case intake, you should always start with case intake. The search engine in case intake is very different than the search engine in search. This uses data and all the combinations and permutations of that data. The search uses, they got to be exact matches. So you might not find somebody in search, but then find them in case intake and vice versa. You might come up with an answer that it's a new client in search, but when you go out to case intake, you're going to find them. So my advice to everybody in doing case intake, don't use search for case intake, use case intake. Now, to answer your question, I think I could probably simulate it with Linda Chambers again. Let's see. So I just put in the name. Now, obviously, you know, you put in the date of birth, put social security, whatever. But this is the Linda Chambers that we were working with before, right? This is what you're talking about, Mark?
Yeah, we have two Linda Chambers and we have two different addresses or two different phone numbers for her.
Yeah, but this is the screen I think you were talking about.
Yeah, it is. What do I do?
What do you do? Okay,
Yeah.
simple. What you do is you keep it on current match.
Right.
And it brought up, obviously, the phone number might be wrong, the address might be different, right?
All right.
Okay, you select it.
Where did you hit select?
Up there, top right-hand corner.
Oh, okay. I'm with you now. Okay.
Okay. So it's starting the intake process. It's first going to go out there, see if there's an open case. There is. And of course, you can do whatever you want to do, investigate it, whatever. And we're starting a new case with this client. Now, hang in there. We're going to change the name. We're going to change the address and the phone number in a minute. Because I think that's what you really want to do, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so now I've landed on the household tab, right? You tab backwards to the client profile. Make your changes. Let's say that is, no, I didn't highlight it. I'm sorry. 123 Street. And get rid of this. And let's say their phone number now is 770-852-9647. Okay? And then you click save. This is the trick. This is where people get messed up. They go, I made those changes, but it didn't take. Well, the reason why it didn't take is because you didn't click save. So now if you click save, now you're back to where you started before. This case now has the new address and the new phone number. Got it?
I've been there before. My problem is that I had already put in that, and then once it found a match, I have to go back in a second
Hello?
time and revise it, unfortunately. But it looks like that's what I have to do. In other words, it doesn't save the data I already put in.
That's right.
I've got to save that data somewhere so that I have to re-input it in again a second time so it links up with the old cases, correct?
Yeah, yeah. You see, here's the theory. Let me explain to you the why. Okay, so say you entered in all of that data and only found out that you already helped this guy 2 weeks ago. That's a waste of data. That's a waste of time. You know, so the assumption is the address is the same and there's going to be exceptions. The address is going to be different. The phone number is going to be different. So you just make those changes. That's pretty much all that, you know, changes from A to B at that time. So we had to choose. What do we do? Give you, you know, the data that you entered in, and you spend all the time keying in all the profile information, only get to the screen that you can't help. You lost all that time. So it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and we said, listen, let's take the data that's on the file now and then have the user modify it versus enter it all in and then kill it.
So your suggestion when you do intake is do the minimal amount of intake, let it go through the search engines and determine whether you had a previous case or not, and then modify that old case.
Yeah. When you say minimal, I'll say name, birthday, phone number. Those are probably the big three. And obviously, if you got Social Security, grab that one too.
Right.
That to me are the big four. Don't key in the address or any of the other information, just because that's the data the search engine uses to come up with the answer.
Right.
It actually uses email address, but that's irrelevant.
Well, that's helpful. That's very helpful because I've typically put in all the data and then found out I have a match that before I even did any input, it didn't appear that we'd ever helped that person before because I'm primarily searching by phone number only.
Yeah.
And it isn't picking up that phone number, or I'll search after that by name only. And again, the name is difficult because once you get the client on the phone, you may find out they spell their name a little funky and so it won't show up.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, I would not start case intake through search, but there is a role for search. And the role for search, in my opinion, is that's where you can do the wildcard search, where you don't know the exact spelling of the name. You remember when I showed that earlier with the % sign?
Sure.
Yeah, that's the value to me of search. But I caution everybody to think that you're going to come up with the right answer by just going through search. Like I said, I can prove to you, and I have proven in the video, the beginner's training, of how you can key in the same data in search and in case intake and come up with 2 different answers. Okay, but going back to the way that you should do it, start from case intake, put in what you said, minimal data. I say the required data that really define the client, and then go backwards and fill in the blanks.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Nothing's in the chat right now. Betty, I see you're off of mute, but I don't know if you actually had a question or not.
No, I don't have a question because all of this is new to me.
Okay. It's a lot of information then. John, do you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I did. Could you run through real quickly how to make a dependent a new head of household? For example, we had a client recently whose husband had passed away in the last year, and so he's no longer head of household, she is. So how do we, I was frustrated trying to make that switch. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I think I could do that with Linda Chambers because I think there's an Aaron Chambers out there too. Hold on a minute. I know there. Okay. I think Aaron Chambers is, hold on a minute. I'm trying to find.
You go back to chambers, you can pick up
Aaron.
different chambers.
Yeah, I think it's Aaron, if I'm not mistaken. ERIN. I think that's her daughter. She's a household member, I think.
There was an April.
There was an April too.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, there's Erin. She's a household member of Linda, I believe. You see this guy right here?
Yep.
Okay, did you try clicking
did-
that?
I did that, but it ran me through a loop and I couldn't figure out how to get out of it.
It ran you through a what?
And some kind of I just kept running around in circles.
Show how you would go through.
Okay. Okay,
did
so,
that.
okay, so here you got the person you selected is not a client, okay? Because Aaron Chambers
Mhm.
is a household member of Linda Chambers, okay?
Yep.
The person is a household member, is the household of the client identified below. So Aaron Chambers is a household member of Linda Chambers.
Right.
And let's say that I wanted to switch head of household. Right now, the head of household is Linda Chambers. Okay?
Right.
And if I moved forward and didn't do anything, it's going to create, I could do a new client on Aaron. I can make Aaron a client, okay, rather than a household member. So I'm going to switch the head of household by just flip-flopping everything. So now Aaron is the head of household.
Okay.
And Linda, well, Linda's the client, Aaron's the member.
But I think his comment was,
Where's the loop?
no, I think the issue that he's saying is somebody was the head of household who is now deceased. So
Oh.
somebody else has stepped up to become the head of household. If I understood your question,
That's correct.
yeah, so it's sort of like, whoever was the head of household is deceased, and you want to keep the continuity of assistance to that family. If
Right.
you now designate somebody else as the head of household, and how do you do that?
Well, in this case, let's say Linda's deceased
Okay,
and Aaron now is the head of household because she's
so you
a
would
household she's a household member.
So you would accept her as a client.
She now becomes the head of household as a client.
Do you tie back to the previous assistants, or do you now create a whole new client?
When you create a whole new, well, let me think about this. Okay.
I think you end up creating a whole
Whole
new
new
client. Because of the head of household being deceased.
Well.
It's a good question. It's a great question.
It's a good question, but there is a down and dirty way of doing it. I guess you could do it. You go over to search clients and just change the client name and keep everything the same. In other words, if I went to search.
And date of birth.
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
You'd have to go in and change the name. And that.
Like I said, it's down and dirty, but it is a way. So I'm in search here. So here's Linda Chambers. We find her, right? This is at the client level, not at the case level.
Mhm.
And I can change Linda to, Sally Chambers. So that now Sally Chambers is really the head of household, basically. And here's the household members, Aaron's still there. So one deceased, somebody else took over the account, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a down and dirty way of doing it, but all you gotta do is just change the name by clicking edit.
Now, can I ask a question? What is from your perspective, I know you want to keep the continuity, but if you had to create, because the original head of household passed, and now you're really going to set up a new client. Where do you think you're burdened? Where do you think the issue is for you? Because you could end up having a separate client. It's as if it's a whole new household, because the previous head of household passed away, the dynamics of the household changed. Is it a matter of you just want to make sure you have that continuity that you knew you helped them in the past? This is John, right? Was John asking?
John.
the question?
Oh, you're asking me.
Yeah, I was asking you, John. I mean, you said you wanted to do it. I'm just understanding why you wanted to do it. Was there a specific reason, or is it just, hey, I just want to keep track of the fact that we've helped this family
Well, we wanted
through
we wanted to
its
keep-
changes?
Yeah, we wanted to keep track through the changes, and it's a young mother with 4 kids. Husband passed away. We had helped a lot in the past, and so how do we keep that continuity and move the husband out and put her in as head of household?
Another suggestion I would offer is if you had to create it and make her now the head of household, that in the situation you explained what happened. And you can also explain how you helped them in the past. Again, I've always said that the true beauty and value to our caseworkers is the notations that we're allowed to put into CMS. So you
Okay.
might end up having to do something like that and just say, the situation that she's in that caused you to set her up as a new client.
So we could. set it
Otherwise,
up as-
you're going to bastardize the system by changing from the deceased to her in some respects.
Yeah, you're not gonna, well, like I said, that's one way to keep it all together, if you will. And you see all the history, but just under a different name now. And then do Jerry's suggestion of documenting that that's what you did. I mean, that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is you create another client. But then again, you got this other client over here that has all this history under the deceased name. And now you have a new client that's pretty much starting new with all of their assistants.
But if you note it, in both cases, you note it, right? And, so that you can go back and understand, potentially some of the history. The other thing you just won't have is the accordion on past assistance. But then again, I mean, it changed so much, right, with the head of household.
So if we put her in as a new client, and then somewhere in case instructions, for example, we could say, see previous case numbers and list those case numbers where she was a household member before the husband passed.
Right, or just
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's only gonna be for that case.
Yes.
In other words, what about the next case that comes up? My suggestion is that you go over to the client tab and you put it in the notes.
Yeah.
Right there. And you always have it at that level, at the client level, and you're not dependent upon always at the case level.
Okay, yeah, yes, okay. Yep.
Well, can I say something? If you want to keep it the same, and it has to do with rent or mortgage, and you have say you got a 2-year, so you wouldn't be able to help them for 2 years, and she comes back, say maybe right after whoever it is died, and she needs help with rent, you're not gonna be able to help her. So then don't you think then you should just get a new client, put her in as a new client, and, you know, close out the person who died completely and start her off in a new client sequence. Don't you think so?
Yeah, and again, you know, it's really your choice. I mean, there's a lot of options that you can take. Another one I kind of thought of when you were talking is that you set up the new client, if you will, and you got the old client, you merge them. You merge them together.
Or Lois may note that new client was a household member in previous assistance, right? I mean, the other thing is what you're talking about is more of a conference decision on helping people. You know, I mean, there are guidelines, right? And you always have exceptions to your guidelines. So CMS shouldn't necessarily be the reason that you try to get around your guidelines. You should just make a conscious decision that if, you know, you weren't going to help the person for 2 years, but they had a sudden catastrophic event in their family, you get together as a conference and say, you know what, we're going to lean in. Doesn't, you know, we'll do the exception, and there's a good reason to do it. So,
hey guys, we are just want to make you aware we're 4 minutes over our allotted time. So I just want to, you know, let everyone know that John is done with his formal presentation if you need to hop off. But I know, Felicia, I see your hand up. So if you would like, we'll take your question and then we'll end the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I just had a quick question. With them both being married, why can't you just simply go in there and change the marriage status? Don't we still have that item in there where it will say married, single, divorced, or deceased?
Yeah.
So why couldn't you just go in there, put them in there and keep them both on the account, but just put him in as deceased?
Well, that just changed the marital status. I think what John was saying is it's a different person.
yeah, I don't think
It isn't just the marital status that's changed. We're talking about somebody else is taking over custody of the record.
Okay,
It isn't the
so
same
person that's
person.
taking over custody is not married to the deceased person.
I don't know that. That's
Oh,
John's
see, that's what I
question.
was thinking. I thought he was saying that it was married and that the individual was deceased. Like if the male was the head of the household, he passed. So now she wants to step up and be head of the household.
That's the way it was. He was the head of household and had asked for help in the past. And
So now he's deceased. That's my question. Why can still keep the application, but just move her up as take her out of the other area and put her head of household and put him in as deceased?
Exactly. And that's what I said at the client level. You can go in there and edit and change the name to her name, which now she becomes the head of household, if you will.
Yeah.
And then delete her as a household member because she was a household member before. And you delete her as a household member. And that's one way of kind of doing it if you wanted to. And again, it all depends if you want to keep it 2 separate records or you want to keep it not. By the way, you said the status, it's a marital status. I think it's widow and widower. Is that what you meant? Not deceased.
I can forget how it listed in there because I thought also the list.
you can't designate somebody who's deceased as deceased in the system.
You could say widow or widower.
Yeah, the survivor has a status, not the person who passed on.
Yeah. So again, I think we've given John a couple options there.
Okay.
You can either create a separate client or you can go in there and mess with the existing client and just change the information, and either one will get you there.
Yeah, and you bring a good question because actually the person who's deceased, if they drop down to be a household member, you would actually eliminate them because they're no longer part of the household.
Yeah, you would, like I said, you
would
would delete the client record and you delete them right there and they'll be gone as a household member. You come over to the profile, you change all the information to the new person, to the wife's name, if you will. And now you got all the past assistants, all as if life went on now, but now the wife is the head of household. So that's the way that you can do it.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes,
No, but I
Amanda.
think this, I love the help from other people chiming in, because one day when we have that forum up, we'll have a great community.
You
And
bet.
please, you all, anyone, if you have any ideas, shoot them over to us for future topics. Let's keep John's brain fresh.
Didn't John do a great job?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We are so thankful for John.
I'm asking for a
He's
raise.
putting in for a bonus. Trust me, we went over 10 minutes. We're not going to charge you anymore.
Thank you all for
Everybody
participating.
have a
and
wonderful day.
learning.
Take care.
All righty.
Have a good one.
Thank
Bye.
you.